On this episode,
Whoa!
the MythBusters indulge their sweet tooth.
Okay.
But will they be burned by an exploding jawbreaker? They show true grit,
I'm gonna go.
finding out if a sandblaster can really create a deadly static cannon.
Stop smudging my...
And it's the deal of a lifetime as they play a hand with the killer deck.
Hey, we drew blood.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Heineman.
I kind of like it in here. It's private.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
That was intense.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Jawbreakers. They're colorful, they're delicious, and they're fun.
Are we doing an experiment here, or are we screwing around?
But what could turn this simple candy into a potential bomb?
The exploding jawbreaker. We know this happened. We just don't know why.
Yeah, we have the police reports and everything.
A treat for 5-year-old Cameron D. Hall turned into a scary moment after just one lick.
And it just blew. That fast. Boom.
And he had this jawbreaker in his hand, and he went down to lick it. When he did, it exploded.
The child heated the candy in the microwave.
There's another exploding jawbreaker story in Florida.
Story of 9-year-old Taquandra Digg was burned when her jawbuster exploded in 2003. Hot liquid burned her face.
It hurts. It hurts a bunch.
She went to lick it, and at that point, the jawbreaker exploded in her face, leaving really severe burns on her face and on her arm that were described later as chemical burns.
Jawbreakers start life as a solid candy center. Then they grow like a snowball as sugar syrup is applied layer after layer in a process that takes 5 days. This is the perfect MythBusters story. A hint of truth, sweet things to play with, and an excuse to do really stupid, dangerous experiments. Don't try this at home.
We have to come up with a heating and cooling regimen to determine which scenario, if any, would make these jawbreakers explode. And really the first place to start is to try and superheat it and see what happens to the insides.
And superheating means microwaves. It's obviously a bad idea to put a jawbreaker into your microwave at home, but the MythBusters are willing to do it for science.
Look at that.
God, look at that. There's a hole right in the side of it.
When you're dealing with superheated sugar,
Going hot.
you don't take any chances.
Nope, nothing explosive there.
To suck through a jawbreaker this size could take 5 days. So Jamie and Christine use a shortcut to see what's inside.
That's pretty. The first thing that I noticed when I cut this open is that there's a potential for a temperature differential.
Temperature differential means a layer inside the jawbreaker could heat more rapidly than the hard outer shell. The layer would then expand, creating internal pressure and instability. If somebody nibbled on a jawbreaker in this state, it could crack. The molten candy would burst out and cause painful burns.
With the slightest, messing with it, it would go off like a bomb.
The MythBusters don't really want a mouthful of boiling candy. So Adam comes up with a toothy solution for Tari to construct.
We have to build a fake mouth to chew on a gobstopper.
Okay.
We want it to be able to chew, which means the lower jaw will be the hinged part. The upper jaw will be fixed,
Okay.
like in the head.
If you're building an artificial mouth, the first thing you need is teeth. Let's hope Adam's granny doesn't miss those dentures too much. As Adam plays dentist, Tari constructs a steel frame to support the test jaws.
Anyone got any candy?
The average human has a maximum bite force of about 170 pounds. This guy's not average, but our artificial mouth has to be. So, how do we measure its bite force?
What I've done is I've hooked up this force gauge to this device, and this will give us an accurate reading of how much the jaw exerts.
The digital force gauge measures and displays the peak amount of force applied to it.
Hurts.
Time to test the artificial jaws. By pushing down on the flexible steel rod, Tori can apply tremendous force onto the dentures. Maybe too much.
What is that? Busted a
Tooth. Busted a tooth? Melted, and it kind of heard it go over here somewhere.
You shouldn't eat hard candy.
This job calls for teeth of steel.
I'm about to cut some canine.
Varying diameter steel rods are cut into tooth-sized pieces. They're shaped on a grinder and welded onto a steel jaw. They might not get you a Hollywood contract, but these steel choppers will be able to replicate the bite pressure of a real mouth.
I finished the teeth. I hope they work.
Meanwhile, the microwave's getting a workout.
Now look at this. The one light green layer in the middle there started to bubble, and nothing else did. I'm gonna put this piece back in there without the core in the middle of it and see whether it just kind of pools and nothing else happens.
Okay.
Christine uses an infrared thermometer to measure the temperature of the candy's molten inner core.
25 degrees.
Yeah, it went up to 225.
Well, you know, this is actually pretty interesting because it's clear that it is reacting in that layer a lot more than the surrounding areas. And that's where we get some kind of an explosion. Ow, really retains the heat. You could get seriously burned with this. In fact, I think I did.
So, heating a jawbreaker in the microwave can create a dangerous molten sugar center. Now to apply pressure.
Want to get me a jawbreaker to test?
Jamie loads up, Adam pushes down, and the steel teeth start chomping.
All right, that's a full bite. Nothing's going on.
They try again, but the jawbreakers just won't crack. Maybe the boys are heating the candies too fast. What's the solution?
Defrost cycle. See if we can figure it out on this machine. Okay, so
You could do, I think it might be power level 1. Oh,
All they have to do is figure out how to program the microwave.
it's too smart.
0.1 pound. That's probably a good bet.
We don't have the manual for this anywhere.
Probably somewhere, but I think that's sort of what it does.
30 years special effects experience finally pays off.
There we go. Start.
That was crazy.
It's like watching paint dry.
Nope. After all that, the defrost setting doesn't do it either. They test combination after combination of heating, cooling, and pressure. Until, eureka, finally, they think they have it.
Going hot on the candy.
Okay.
A highly unstable jawbreaker with a core of molten sugar is about to be crushed.
2. What?
Ice water over here.
I got it on my arm.
Christine's being hit in the face.
I got burned by the candy. I wasn't wearing a face mask like I should have been. And I couldn't protect myself with my hands.
At upwards of 225 degrees and with high heat retention, the liquid candy is extremely painful.
Okay, I've got first-hand experience though. Doesn't feel good. I got the side of my neck and my temple. So it hurts.
So, the MythBusters have conclusively proved that jawbreaker plus microwave plus steel teeth equals scalded myth turn.
And if you were a 5-year-old kid and this went off in your face, there's no doubt it would leave serious burns on you. It was very, I mean, I could feel it like 10 seconds, 15 seconds later. It wasn't cooling down. It's like napalm. It's very dangerous.
For now, the MythBusters will lick their wounds. But they'll take a few more bites at this myth before they're finished. It's a myth to make your hair stand on end. You think you're just sandblasting a plain old pipe. But are you really creating a massive cannon fueled by static electricity?
This is a really cool story. Lots and lots of static electricity.
Potentially lethal, yes. The story goes that there's a construction worker who's on a site and he finds a piece of 8-inch diameter PVC pipe. It's kind of messed up and he wants to reuse it on the job, so he drags it over into the paint area and begins to sandblast it with a large industrial sandblaster. What he doesn't realize is that builds a charge up on the pipe, and as he walks around the pipe to go get another tool, the pipe unloads all of its static electricity into him, killing him instantly, like a static cannon.
A static cannon. What a blast. To test this one, the MythBusters will need a length of PVC pipe, a sandblaster to build up a charge, a willing victim to get zapped, and a meter to measure the jolt.
It turns out that the ideal conditions for static electricity are very dry conditions. Because the moisture in the air inhibits the buildup of static. So I think we're actually really going to want to seal off that area, which we're already doing for the sandblasting. We're going to want to get that area as dry as possible.
Tori just couldn't be happier with that idea.
It's not like we're housing the boy in the bubble.
A whole workshop to wrap in plastic, on his own, just him and his stapler. He'll take a little while. So in the meantime, Jamie and Adam seek out a little expert opinion. Susie C. has been an electrical engineer for 15 years.
So Susie, tell me how electrostatic charges would build up on this PVC.
Well, Jamie, as you know, PVC is an excellent insulator. It doesn't like to give off electrons. So when you rub something along PVC with a lot of friction, electrons build up on the PVC surface, and the surface becomes negatively charged.
So PVC can collect a charge, but Susie's never heard of that charge causing problems.
PVC is not conductive, it's very resistive. It can store a charge of electrons, but can that charge be dissipated so that the current flows and somebody is hurt? I'm not sure that's possible.
If it is possible, the MythBusters want to be the ones to make it happen. Back in the workshop, Tori's plastic tent is done, and they're spreading painter's desiccant. It draws moisture out of the air. Now, the pipe. Nothing like a little PVC overkill to get the sparks flying.
Jamie, I see a problem right away with this myth. I mean, they said he put it up on jack stands, but the problem is we're trying to build up a static charge on something that's grounded to metal.
Yeah, I agree. This wouldn't work at all this way.
What they need is a little insulation inspiration.
Best I can come up with is to put it on these glass blocks, so I'm going to make a brace to hold them like so. This is the size of the tube. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, lower it down.
So the air's dry and the cannon's insulated. Now, who wants to be blasted with a fatal charge? Come on, hands up.
I built this hand about 13 years ago. It was my first attempt at some type of animatronics. I just had some copper plate and some springs, and I put this together. So I think that this hand actually contributed to me getting my very first job with Jamie. I think he liked the animatronic aspect of it.
He just knew it would come in handy again someday. The perfect stand-in. Better a copper finger cops the blast than Adam's own.
I am being a little cautious with this rig. I don't know how much electricity it's going to generate. My thinking is it's not going to generate very much, but we've been surprised on MythBusters before, and I don't want to be at the business end of a bad mistake.
To load the cannon, they'll sandblast the pipe end to end. Jamie will measure the charge buildup on a voltmeter, and there's an ammeter in Adam's hand, connected to Christine's computer.
After we feel like we've leveled it out to the maximum charge, you'll touch it with this, and Christine can tell us what the amperage spike is, and if it's, we can take a look and see if it's enough to actually cause some real damage.
In cases of electrocution, the damage is done by the current flowing through you, measured in amps. You can feel 1/1000th of an amp, or 1 milliamp. Up to 5 will give you a little shock. Between there and 30 milliamps will be a severe jolt and affect muscle control. Getting beyond 50, it can affect breathing and heartbeat and can prove fatal. But can their static cannon produce a massive, fatal blast?
Okay, I'm gonna go.
By bombarding the pipe with sand, Adam is loading it up with millions of electrons. It could discharge when they touch it with the copper hand, or, as in the myth, completely at random.
Let's see where it is now. Went back down again. That's like 500 volts.
Something weird is happening. The static charge has actually dropped.
This is a big piece of plastic, so we should be able to create a big charge. Why we're not at this point, I'm not so sure.
And here's another problem. Adam's got gas, or at least the blaster does.
Turn it off?
Yeah, let's turn it off again.
So here's the unit. Maybe that we don't know how to use it. It may be that it's not working right. Not sure.
It seems for blasting, there's the right sand, and there's the kind the MythBusters bought.
Yeah, it's catching in the nozzle.
Okay.
We've got hundreds and hundreds of pounds of sand meant for a kid's playpen, not for a sandblaster.
Jamie doesn't really buy the whole gritty sand thing. While Adam is off searching for something finer, a little Heinemann handiwork gets the MythBusters back in the blasting game. Jamie's done something right. This time the cannon is charging up.
It got up to about 17,000 volts.
17,000 volts. Will that give off a fatal zap?
Okay, Christine, did we catch any amperage?
Nothing. I mean, it's just a blank screen. It doesn't even look like it's connected to anything. I didn't see a blip.
Well, what are you doing wrong?
Nothing, I swear.
I
I've
did
been
my
looking at it
part.
the whole time.
I got the volts. Where's your amps?
I can't help you.
There's no current, no spark, not even a blip on the screen. Unless Jamie and Adam can think of something fast, the only thing this static cannon will blow away will be the myth. Adam is gambling with his life.
You wimp.
He is an apprentice before the master.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This ain't old maid. It's the biggest deal of all when you're playing with the killer deck.
This is real.
Killer deck. This has got to be one of your favorites.
One of my all-time favorites, actually. The myth is that an ordinary playing card can be turned into an instrument of death and actually kill somebody with a powerful throw.
Sounds highly implausible to me.
Well, be that as it may, you can actually throw these things with a fair amount of force. I've been doing it since I was like 10 years old.
You're pretty good at that.
Adam's better than pretty good. He's a card-throwing ace and is proud to display the fruits of a misspent youth.
The first aspect is just imparting lateral speed to the card. The second is imparting spin to it. And it's a combination of both of those things that I think yields the most distance and stability.
So all it takes is speed, spin, and, say, 30 years practice.
I haven't had all day to sit around practicing with like you guys.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
As far as I'm aware, it's not possible to actually kill someone with a playing card by throwing it at them.
You can't kill anybody with a playing card. No way. I'm sure they're gonna try.
The high-speed camera shows Adam in all his mutant ninja glory. He's hitting that foam block target at an impressive 25 miles an hour. But when it comes to cards, few can trump Ricky J.
Well, some people have called me the leading hurler of martial projectiles in the world.
Ricky can throw a regular playing card nearly 200 feet.
So yeah, I can just throw one without too much, I've got a little curve, but that'll hit him anyway. I'll take credit for anything.
Yeah, that's nice and done.
Watch closely here. He's putting a card right through the same hole in the paper as the throw before.
Yeah, that's it.
And he can cure your smoking habit better than any hypnotist. When it comes to killer cards, Ricky wrote the book.
Well, Ricky, have you heard the myth about someone being killed with a throwing card?
Well, there's a book called Cards as Weapons, which is a study of self-defense with the ordinary playing card that deals with some stories of people who may have actually been killed with playing cards.
Now, isn't it true that you wrote this book?
It is true, yes. I did write that book.
So you may be the genesis of this tale.
I would be surprised if I wasn't.
Lethal cards. Is it true? Ricky's not saying. Jamie's always crisp shirt is as good as body armor. Of course, that doesn't mean the myth is dead.
We have some unsubstantiated accounts that world record-holding card throwers like Ricky Jay are throwing the card at almost 90 miles per hour. Our challenge in this myth is to build a machine that can throw a card as fast as possible.
Let's go for it.
So here's the deal. The MythBusters will build a high-powered card-throwing machine and compare it to other weapons. But son of a gun, you'll never guess. Adam and Jamie have completely different ideas on how to do it.
Hi, how you doing?
Adam's ambitious plan is a sort of bionic arm. Jamie's making a kind of mini baseball pitching machine.
Whenever an engineer builds something that's overcomplicated, that's the mark of an inferior designer. Simpler is always better.
This pulls all the way back, comes like this, spreads, and the card flies out.
It's complicated, but just maybe Adam's gizmo will work.
That's actually pretty clever.
What's going on? It's getting worse. Oh, looks like the fingers are getting tweaked a little bit. That was pretty cool.
Adam actually had a pretty clever idea. It doesn't work, but it was really clever.
I'm not very happy with it. As usual, I've tended to get a little over-elegant in my design.
Over-elegant is apparently engineering speak for it won't work. Adam has thrown in his hand, and it's down to Jamie. With less elegance, more grunt as his mantra, this promises to be the most diabolical little machine he's ever created.
Yeah, Adam.
Jamie's made what could be a card-throwing monster.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of this thing myself. Go ahead. I'm tickled with my design, actually. You know, it came together really quickly. It's really simple. And best of all, it just rockets those cards. I mean, they're just like gone. So it's cool.
Jamie's pitching machine is getting that card out there at around 70 miles an hour.
Look at that.
I mean, I can definitely say you're going a lot deeper than I can go. I mean, look, even from here, you know,
Yeah.
you're going like burying half the card. That's an intense amount of speed.
Yeah.
This is becoming quite a dangerous little card-throwing machine.
Wow!
But maybe for the wrong reasons.
Ow! What was that?
I don't know. I have a clue.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, ow, yeah.
Oh. What happened to it, do you think?
It's going 30,000 RPM.
The small rubber wheels can't handle the speed and are breaking apart. It's time to up the ante. Bigger wheels, and the MythBusters will be killer card high rollers.
I'm ready. Pull the plug.
That might be the fastest failure we've ever had.
Whoops.
I wouldn't have called that.
Rubber wheels aren't happening on this one. We have to do it out of metal. In fact, you know, I have some things that I can I'll bring you out right now to show you an example of what we can try.
I used these when I made the first Chef Boyardee commercial in 1948 for the Henny Youngman Radio Hour.
It is fair to say Jamie's not known for throwing anything away.
I'm not sure that this is the right one, but, you know, because it's a little too weak in there. We're going to have to make a metal drive wheel this time that hopefully won't fly apart. Even that, you know, we're playing around with some really high forces on this thing, and it just, it's scary.
Of course, danger is the MythBusters' constant friend and companion. And now they have a new toy, the mother of all card chuckers.
All right, let's try that. Let's go. Everybody eyes open, we're spinning up a big, fast thing. Go.
It even sounds dangerous.
I don't want to get near that thing.
I don't either.
They're serious. They really don't want to get near it. But they have to load the cards. Adam's got a solution.
This I got when I bought an esophagoscope. This is for going all the way down. I got all the way down to your stomach. Like that. I'm pulling it back out again. Yeah?
Yeah.
Want to try?
I hate this thing.
I know, it's terrifying. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. That works beautiful. Oh my God. That's one that I did. Here's ours. Embedded like half the card. Well, we got to see what kind of speed that is.
Yeah.
The high speed tracks that card at a blistering 150 miles an hour. But even at that speed, Jamie isn't convinced the card is lethal.
You know, creating a killer playing card isn't just about the speed, it also involves the mass.
They found out all about the importance of mass in the penny drop myth.
I'm scared.
Jamie built a gun to fire a penny at high speed.
Looks pretty good. Are we ready? Ready, Adam?
The light coin didn't have any penetrating power.
You hit me in the same exact place. It didn't hurt that much before, but now it really hurts.
Oh, you baby.
I mean, in looking at the mass of a penny here on the scale, the penny comes out at just a little over 3 grams, and a card comes out at just about 1.7 grams.
Yeah, well, nevertheless, I think we need to put this up against some things that we know can penetrate human flesh.
So out comes the MythBusters' old friend, ballistics gel.
I'm going to open up a brand new deck of cards, so I've got some nice sharp cards for this one. Here we go. Nope. Hey!
Adam's best effort can only penetrate 1/4 of an inch. But how will the killer deck cut it?
Okay.
Ready when you are. There we go. That's a hit.
Even at 150 miles an hour, the card only penetrates 1/2 inch. Now, what about a dangerous, but generally not deadly, pellet gun? The lead slug is traveling at around 350 miles an hour. and burrowed in 7 inches. And last, well, crossbows, anyone?
That's pretty devastating.
At 200 miles per hour, the heavy crossbow bolt has penetrated 20 inches. The MythBusters have cashed their last chip. The fastest card they can throw lacks the penetrating power of even a humble pellet gun.
Well, all that being said, Jamie, are you willing this time to put your body on the line and take a hit from the machine?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind. Well, I think it's only fair to give Adam a chance once in a while to inflict some damage on me.
So it's shirt off.
It's so nice that Jamie's finally doing this instead of me.
Eye protection on.
Look at what a fine specimen of manhood he is for 83. Here we go.
Jamie is putting his body where his myth-busting mouth is.
Really?
He's taken 2 for the team, and it seems the killer machine ain't quite so killer.
Does it really? I figured it might. Do you have any marks? Hey, we drew blood! Look at that! Excellent, we drew blood with a card.
Oh, there, that was the arm.
Look at that. I believe that might be your first significant injury on MythBusters, Jamie.
Could be.
So unless you can bleed to death from a nasty paper cut, it seems a killer hand will remain a figure of speech.
Well, you know, we fired everything we had in the shop at this piece of ballistics gel, and for the life of me, even from our Uber machine, I didn't really see anything I thought was lethal from that playing card.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
I'm willing to say that this myth is pretty busted.
I'd agree. It doesn't happen in mass.
A treat for 5-year-old Cameron D. Hall turned into a scary moment after just 1 lick.
And it just blew. That fast. Boom.
It's the case of the exploding jawbreaker. How can a common candy become a ticking time bomb?
I can't imagine if a child got hit with candy like that was heated like that. It would be terrible.
Well, Adam, you know, a microwave is clearly the best option for this kind of thing to happen with, because we know that it did in fact occur with a kid getting his face burned.
Yeah, but Jamie, I really think we need to look at some other options that might have created some kind of explosion. And the first thing that comes to mind is a chemical reaction, where some part of the manufacturing process went awry and left a chemical that reacted with another chemical in the candy. And I think the prime candidate for this would be caustic soda or lye, which is often used in the cleaning of food processing equipment.
Yeah, lye is pretty reactive. It's powerful stuff.
So let's put that under some heat and see what we get.
Okay.
It's a highly unlikely scenario, but it is possible, and it may cause an explosion. How could a MythBuster resist that? 4 samples are prepared. 2 contain caustic soda and ground-up jawbreaker. And 2 contain caustic soda and ascorbic acid, a common food additive, also known as vitamin C. Water will be added to one set of samples, heat will be added to the other.
Nothing's happening at all.
But Adam wants a kaboom, and he wants it now.
Let's put him on high for 5 minutes. He did. He put it on high for 5 minutes.
I discovered it's really effective for cleaning out the microwave in just a couple of minutes.
Whoa! Wow! Okay, that would be, okay, stop. Wow, you've made like a burning cupcake.
Oh, that was fun.
That's spectacular.
The dry caustic soda and crushed jawbreaker mix proves highly combustible.
Well, it produced a lot of hot ash.
The caustic soda, ascorbic acid, and water mix also proves to be a surprise.
Whoa, that's super hot.
Yes, it is.
I think we should take this last mixture of the caustic soda and the candy powder and put it at the same temperature the jawbreaker was at in the oven under radiant heat.
Okay.
This will approximate a caustic soda contaminated candy being left out in the sun.
Whoa!
And the result is dramatic.
All right, well. Glove. That was spectacular. That's a handy way to get rid of a paper cup. Jeez. Look at that, man. That's crazy. Feel it. It's like rock hard. Feel it. Feel it. Are you convinced? I mean, that radiant heat was enough within just 5 minutes to make the caustic soda react with the powdered candy and create like an incredible expansion, explosion, flames, everything.
Yeah, I guess that's a possible scenario. You know, it is conceivable that they could use a caustic soda to clean out the equipment for candy making, and if some of it got with the sugar and it got heated up, obviously it creates a reaction.
Although it's far less likely to occur because manufacturers in the food industry are held to much higher standards than 5-year-olds with microwaves, I think this is still a very plausible scenario for exploding jawbreaker.
So the MythBusters have created jawbreaker explosions with microwaves and with chemicals. But what if neither of those were involved?
So a key element that keeps popping up in the stories about the exploding jawbreakers is the plastic packaging. And on the off chance that the packaging itself will somehow focus heat and make the jawbreaker more explosive, I think we should place it under a radiant heat source like a toaster oven and leave it there for a while, see if it actually has any significant effect on the jawbreaker.
Putting the jawbreaker in the toaster oven is like leaving it in the sunshine for a couple of hours. Something any kid could accidentally do.
Anything happening yet?
Not yet.
But leaving a candy in the sun couldn't really have any effect. Or could it?
Oh, look, it's like the bag's almost like pillow-like. All right, well, let's put them in the jaws.
Okay. In the bag, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Is
Yeah.
everybody clear?
Nope, that's as hard as a human can bite, and I'm getting squat.
Okay.
When he removes the jawbreaker from its plastic wrapper, Jamie is in for a surprise.
Well, actually, it is still hard on the outside, and it's molten in the middle. That's interesting. I never would have thought it would do that. I thought the only way we could get that was with the microwave.
Well, under radiant heat, it got molten in the middle and stayed crispy outside. I think we've come up with 3 possible scenarios for candy destruction.
There you go.
This is confirmed, confirmed, confirmed.
Maybe, but what about that other scenario? You know, the one about the evil, genius 5-year-old with a bag of gunpowder.
It's kind of cute.
Cute, but deadly. The jawbreaker from hell.
How likely is this scenario depends on whether or not you live in the real world or Wile E. Coyote's world. Because I can't imagine a child licking on a ball with a fuse that's going on it.
This scenario doesn't really have anything to do with this, with what we understand happened in the stories. We're just doing it for fun.
Let the fun begin.
3, 2, 1.
Just chat amongst yourselves a moment.
Nothing's happening. Can we get a fresh battery?
Take 2.
Okay, we're ready?
Give a countdown, please.
And 3, 2, 1. That was a nice boom.
It's like a magic trick. It's like, watch me make half the ball disappear. Well, that is an exploding jawbreaker. I think we have examined every last way you could get candy to explode.
And a few ways that they can't.
That's it then. I mean, all our scenarios paid out and were possible. Myth totally confirmed.
Confirmed, and as Christine found out, dangerous. Don't try any of these experiments at home. Like Christine, you could end up burned. The static cannon myth seems to have short-circuited. The MythBusters can't generate a fatal shock out of their PVC pipe, no matter how much sand they blast it with. They need to find a way to create a much bigger static charge. And Jamie and Adam have very different ideas about how to do it.
You know, I didn't get any satisfaction out of the last thing with the static cannon. Now we're going to have some real fun. We're going to make a Van de Graaff generator and see whether we can make some big static electricity out of it.
A Van de Graaff generator uses a spinning belt to carry a charge picked up from a brush at the bottom of a long tube to another brush at the top, where the charge is distributed onto a metal sphere. It's a simple machine, but can generate in excess of 100,000 volts.
So on top of this is going to go an aluminum sphere, and basically all we have to do is put a belt in the middle of this, and that'll probably be the hardest part. This belt we have to custom make.
So the build team will try to create a Van der Graaf generator and a bigger kick than the static cannon. Scotty starts on the rollers for the belt.
Oh, Happy New Year.
The belt itself is Carrie's job.
I'm trying to precisely cut this vinyl so that Jamie doesn't get mad at me.
See whether they're actual.
Incredibly, Jamie didn't have a huge metal globe lying around the workshop. They've had to order one in. The belt will be driven by a small electric motor.
This is brass screen, which we're going to make into the electron sprayers. Those little fingers reach out and grab the electrons.
They have all the components they need for the generator.
And there you have it.
Adam hasn't given up on that static cannon. He's got a hunch it just needs a helping hand to produce that fatal jolt.
Well, we're back to our old MythBuster tricks with our friendly early capacitor, the Leyden jar. This is a device for storing a charge. It actually acts like a capacitor. And it does that with a layer of foil on the outside and a layer of foil on the inside, and the charge is stored between them.
Those two foil sheets are enough to store quite an impressive little charge.
Okay, the meter's actually reading about 5,000 volts.
5,000 volts. Not bad. But will a bigger Leyden jar store a bigger charge?
That's 6,000. I'm building it up. That's 7,500. 9,500.
So bigger is better when it comes to storing static. And out in the workshop, there's a very big pipe indeed.
Hello! Sandblasting our big PVC pipe didn't actually yield a very large charge, and it's mainly because we've been finding out through our research that PVC is actually quite poor at storing a high voltage charge. Part of the myth says that he was cleaning paint off the pipe, and I know that metallic paint is actually somewhat conductive. So I'm going to paint the end of this pipe and the inside and outside with a chrome spray paint to see if I can create, in fact, a modified Leyden jar, something that can actually store a charge and perhaps discharge it all at once out at the end.
So the cannon is becoming a Leyden jar, one end sprayed inside and out with a metallic paint.
The tape is a key part of the Leyden jar's construction in that the outer and the inner surfaces, the metallic surfaces, can't actually be in contact with each other. Only when they're close but not in contact are they able to store a small charge between them.
This could prove a stroke of genius, or maybe it's just desperation. When the paint dries, Adam's pipe will certainly look more like a cannon. But that will mean nothing if it doesn't pack a killer punch. Back in the land of Van der Graaf, the generator is coming together. Things are going well. Here's a sentence you don't hear too often on a MythBusters build.
Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it'd be. It's actually kind of scary. I'm a little concerned as to whether we could actually hurt somebody with this, because the only people that I know that have played around with these things have played around with little ones that you can put on a desktop. This is not a little one. Yeah, I have no idea what this is going to do. Let's find out. Go ahead and plug it in. Be ready to unplug it real quick.
Okay. Gotcha. That hurt.
If it's working, there should be a static field around the dome.
You're the one with the hair.
Go do it.
All right. Will this make my hair stand up?
Oh. No! That was that long! Oh my God!
I've had enough for one day. I want to go home.
And now, for your entertainment, the oldest trick in the book.
Adam, check it out. It's not working. I don't know what's wrong with it.
That's our Van der Graaf generator?
No.
Why not work? Why not work?
We haven't figured it out yet.
It's not that spectacular.
Little.
It's like a carpet spark.
Yeah.
So you've made a 7-foot-tall carpet.
By adjusting the position of the brushes, they should be able to increase the charge being generated.
Wait, don't plug it until I'm holding on to it.
Standing on a wooden box, Carrie is insulated from the ground. The charge is building up on her body, repeating that hair-raising old-school science lab trick.
Feel it.
And your hair is standing up a little
Going
better.
up. Yeah, here it goes.
We're at 50,000 volts.
Unexpectedly, it turns out that's a charge big enough to suck all the power out of Jamie's legs.
Whoa. Jamie, you want to run in and get a shot?
Do it, do it.
Come on, baby.
Touch it.
Show those big cars.
Adam will give you mouth to mouth if you pass out.
No, Scotty will.
Well, the machine's working. We can tell it's working. It's making all this horrible popping noise.
What are you doing? Are you snake charming over there?
You're just gonna make it mad.
You've been doing some sort of Grateful Dead dancing by it for some reason. Come on, let's do it.
I'm feeling it. My arm hairs are standing up out here.
Ow. Did you get that one?
Now it's time for Adam to step up.
Oh, wow. God, I feel the power. I feel the power. Oh! Ah! Stop sparking my... Ow!
This is doing nothing for the myth's credibility. Even with that big charge, the current is so small and the pulse so short that no one is getting hurt.
It's the full God-giving knowledge to Adam. Oh! Well, Jamie, according to our instruments, I've got a couple of 100,000 volts heading through my body. And even with this amount, it still, it hurts, but it's not killing us, and it doesn't sound like a thunderclap.
That's true. Can I go away now?
You can go away now.
No one's going anywhere until they finally lay this myth, or Adam, to rest. Has he created a deadly weapon with his static cannon come Leyden jar? Despite the metallic paint, the charge just isn't building up.
This is really sluggish. It doesn't really seem to want to go above 4,000 volts.
All right, Jamie.
And the discharge isn't hair-raising either.
20 milliamps. Yeah, there's no drop. The voltage dropped from 4,000 to 0, and we had a 20 milliamp jump. That's totally not nearly enough to hurt anybody.
It seems PVC pipe just isn't very good at storing a big charge. And there's another problem. Like humidity, dust in the air can help dissipate a static charge. So the sandblasting in the myth could well have doomed it from the start.
Well, Jamie, Christine was recording the entire time, and although the paint actually acted like a Leyden jar, and it did store a small charge, that charge never got above 6,000 volts. And then when you did a discharge, and the amperage dump was like 20 milliamps. I mean, it's not nearly enough to cause you any real damage through your skin. I think this myth is totally busted.
Yeah.
Okay.
On this episode of MythBusters, it's a shocking state of affairs. Adam and Jamie have a MythBuster meltdown.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you about your opinion.
And find themselves in over their heads to make killer quicksand.
If the pump stops during the experiment, we could die because we'll be encased in 20,000 pounds of sand.
And see what happens when tattoos and technology meet. Can body art go boom? Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
Quack, damn you.
I wouldn't say Jamie's an evil genius.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
When will the fun ever stop?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Few things are more shocking than Adam in a bathrobe, but the first myth gets close.
What's with the bathrobe?
Well, Jamie, this time we are attacking one of the classic Hollywood movie myths, which is simply, if you threw an electrical appliance into my bath, I'd get electrocuted.
Right, well that means appliances. Our favorite haunts.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
As Adam said, this grisly death is a favorite with filmmakers. Take Chucky, for example. Our demonic doll gives the bathing beauty a bath time buzz.
Lots of appliances. And I see some ground fault interrupters on them.
So there's a rule here about these?
Thrifttown cannot sell hair dryers without GFI switches for safety purposes, which means, if these are dropped into a bathtub, they would turn off
immediately.
Immediately, yes.
A ground fault interrupter detects any sudden change in the flow of electricity and immediately shuts off the current.
Older appliances don't have ground fault interrupters, and so they're potentially more dangerous. So we need to get some of those.
Here's a radio. This would definitely be next to your bathtub.
What about this? It's like zzz, versus zzz. I think this has got more power to it.
No, I think it's this one.
We have a small TV that'll fit into the bathtub.
Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly the television we need.
Honey, I'm home.
The MythBusters have wildly differing ideas about what will happen when these pre-loved appliances hit the water. Jamie's negative.
The analogy that I have about what would happen would be about like lowering a light bulb into the water of the bathtub after you put the toaster in and expecting the light bulb to light up. Now, I know that's not going to happen.
Adam's positive.
He doesn't realize that the live power of the AC is going to come through one leg. The bathtub with the drain pipe is going to ground to earth, and you will be a very fabulous conductor of electricity in that short journey the electricity is making from the appliance to the ground, and it will kill you very quickly, I believe.
Do I know that you won't get electrocuted? I'm not so sure that I'm ready to jump in the tub quite yet, but I don't think so.
To be honest, if Jamie doesn't think anything's going to happen, I have no problem dropping a hairdryer in the bathtub while he's sitting in it. But something tells me he won't.
Adam, we have about every possible appliance you could drop in a bath, and a few more. What's next?
I don't want to test this in just any old bathroom. I'd like to actually have an isolated bathroom where we can get clean tests safely with this. So I'm thinking about having one of the teams of builders build us a bathroom set that is, fully isolated, insulated, and waterproof with a grounded bathtub in it, and perhaps above that something like a resettable collapsing shelf where we can put the appliance on and continually fall into the tub.
Tori and Christine, that's your cue. The boys need a bathroom.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to try to recreate a real bathroom, as close to a real bathroom as possible. So I'm going to put up 2 walls here, we're going to tile it, and then I'm going to have a bathtub here, a sink there, and a toilet there, and hopefully that'll give them what they need.
Rented it for $10, and it's dripping on me. God knows what's in this water.
And the glamour doesn't end there.
Oh, yeah. I always get the best jobs.
Of course, they'll need to know how much current is flowing through the water.
This is an amp reader going through, the ground is going to go through that, so we can read our amps. And then this is going to go attached to the drain of the bathtub to ground the bathtub.
Now, according to Adam, amperage, not voltage, is the killer. And the lethal limit? He says 70 milliamps.
Right.
Pump somebody with 1,000,000 volts and it's going to hurt him, but if it's under 70 milliamps,
You're not
it's not going to kill him. Your average static electricity shock that you can feel is like 10 to 30,000 volts.
Now, the basic idea is this. There's a body in the bath, in this case, a dummy made from ballistics gel. 2 copper paddles in the dummy's chest represent the heart. The paddles are wired up to a relay, which will trip when the current passing between them hits 70 milliamps. That means death. The bathtub's insulated and ready to go. Now, they need someone to get in it.
So what we've got to do is we've got to make a full ballistic gel body for the appliances in the bathtub myth. And we're going to use this old mold that Jamie has, which is a beautiful fiberglass mold. We're going to have to seal this puppy because ballistics gel filling all the way up, if it starts to leak, we're absolutely screwed. And we ran into trouble on that last season.
This time, he's taking no chances. Once the mold has been well greased with lard,
Jamie's built entire special effects sets out of lard.
It's sealed tight with silicone and aluminum tape.
Just for safety's sake, double. We do it double. Once we do the whole scene, we'll go back and do it again. Okay.
Now, just pack ice around the mold.
All right, well, let's start getting our buckets and pouring it. Pray God we have enough.
Pour in the liquid gel and wait for the dummy to set. Adam's feeling just a little nervous.
Let's get on our knees and pray. I don't know to whom. Is there a patron saint of ballistics gel? Killer quicksand. Is that why I'm standing here in this stupid pith helmet?
No, you're standing there in a stupid pith helmet because you're an idiot. The myth on this one is not whether quicksand exists, it's whether killer quicksand exists. Like you see in the movies, the stuff that actually sucks you down.
So we're going to try and replicate a killer quicksand that would have some kind of suction effect or something that would drag someone all the way under.
Exactly.
It's another classic Hollywood horror. Johnny Weissmuller could always rely on killer quicksand to swallow Tarzan's enemies. But is there even a grain of truth in the killer quicksand story? Can you really be sucked down into a bottomless pit?
It's right around the corner up here, right?
Yeah, have you ever been there before?
Yeah, this is the place I've bought fake eyeballs.
The funny thing is, no one knows if killer quicksand exists, but everyone knows what to do if they ever fall in some.
Isn't that the myth, the myth about quicksand, that you shouldn't fight it? You should, the more you fight, the faster you sink?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I saw in the Tarzan movies.
Exactly.
Jamie's already got a particular sand particle theory.
So there's got to be some kind of threshold of fineness where at a certain point it just will stay in suspension like mud.
Right. Well, but then we need something that we need like the lowest density stuff you've got.
A bag of your finest sand, please. And we do mean your finest. The guys settled on 2 types of fine-grained sand and some clay powder.
So, Bob, if we come up with some killer quicksand, we'll give you the recipe so you can, and keep your patrons informed.
I probably have customers that would like to have it, so yeah, that'd be great.
The question isn't whether quicksand is real. It's real, all right. Just ask Gerald Gray.
I was horseback riding with my family. I was about 8 years old. I was on the Santa Ana River in Southern California, which is a very sandy bottomed river, and we knew it had quicksand, but we never could tell where that was going to be. Their horses missed it and got to shore. My horse went down. He sank to his belly, and I was afraid to get off, and I was warned not to get off because there was quicksand between me and shore. But we managed to get ropes from the horses on shore to my horse and pull him out. Otherwise, he would have perished if he'd been alone.
Quicksand is the result of a process called liquefaction. water rising from under the ground oversaturates the sand or soil, reducing the friction between the particles until they can no longer bear any weight. When it comes to the full-scale test, Adam and Jamie will need to know the density of their quicksand mix. If it's more dense than normal water, it might be a little difficult to sink. So Myth-turned Christine is sent off to make a hydrometer, an instrument which measures the liquid density. A hydrometer is a float with a calibrated stem. Lead shot acts as ballast, keeping the float vertical. You take the reading at the point where stem and liquid meet. Unfortunately, one little slip and Christine's up to her neck in trouble.
Now you've just ruined my threaded rod. This is trash. So
I'll give you the $1.50 later, okay?
chuck it in onto the nut. Think before doing.
Yes.
See, that's not a big mistake on that thing over there. $30,000 machine. So don't do anything without thinking. You know, just stop and think again before you turn anything on or do anything with this until you're really at home with it. Christine's a really hard worker, which is a good place to start. Unfortunately, she doesn't know anything.
Jamie is a very good teacher, actually. He'll pick things that are just out of my range of ability, show me how to do them, and then go away. Walk away and say, I need this by 4, which is actually very effective with me, so.
One of the things that we do here for a living is normally using tools and materials in ways that they're not intended to be used. That's what we do. So when we've got junior people involved with that kind of thing, I have to kind of stop and make a mental note. I'm like, this is a potential hazard. You didn't glue that in upside down, did you? I can't leave you alone for a second, can I?
I think we need to test it in scale first because, you know, the real deal is going to involve a lot of material, so we want to kind of figure out what works best first. And I figured we rig some 5-gallon buckets, maybe some ways of plumbing, and then with water to come up through the bottom of the sand. That probably involves some sort of filter device on the bottom. And then once we get it all dialed in and figure out how it works, we'll know what we're going to do on the big version.
And we'll see if there's a difference between how the different sands behave, you know, with this kind of flow of water through them.
Exactly.
Time for a small-scale test. First, regular sand.
Fill her up. Ah, cool.
Supports it, no problem.
Right. In fact, I can push on it, and I can't push it down.
Okay.
That's not moving anywhere. The sand is totally compacted.
Okay.
So turn it on really low.
Okay.
But what happens when water starts to rise through the sand?
Look at that. It's sucking it up like a cowboy's horse.
But Jamie thinks the water needs to be diffused more evenly through the sand.
So what's going on?
Slight improvements, I hope. I've got a double diffusion going on here. We sacrificed an extra bucket or two for this, but in between it also is this fabric, which is a much finer weave, and it should hold our fine sand, if not the other things, silt or whatever. And
What about...
that goes into this bucket.
Right. How about sealing the outside edge here?
It'll do that. Now that there's no fabric, it actually does a pretty good job of a jam in there.
This time they try one of the sands from the craft store.
Well, at this rate, it's not like I'm plummeting to the bottom, but it is definitely letting me drop a lot quicker than the sand normally would. And it also is resisting pulling back.
Now they're onto something. Or is that into something?
So you think it's about the lowest possible flow?
Yeah. There you go.
That's a lot of suction.
That's enough to cause you a problem if your whole body's doing that.
Well, let's try the finer sand and see if we get a little more control.
Okay.
That's cool. How is it to get back out again? Really easy?
Well, not exactly. I'm gonna try and lift it.
Ooh.
So that actually...
The finer sand makes a difference in its suction.
Yeah.
What about the clay powder?
Ooh, that feels fun.
Yeah, this isn't working at all. I mean, this is just mud, and it won't let the water flow through it at all.
So they've settled on the type of sand. And the miniature quicksand rig works well. But can they make it work on a large scale?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to work. Like, without a doubt, I think we've got this wired. I think we're going to be able to dial the flow in. It's a lot of stuff to move around. I mean, like 20,000 pounds of sand and 15,000 pounds of water and big pumps and stuff. I mean, it's a hell of a deal.
It certainly is. And soon the pressure will start to show.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you shit about your opinion. I'm just saying, I think...
You give me shit about every one of my opinions.
Meanwhile, Adam and Jamie are trying to find out what happens when an appliance splashes down in your bath. Wow! When that happens, the electrical current leaking from it is drawn towards the metal drain. Now, H2O by itself isn't a great conductor, but the presence of salt helps. And because the human body contains a high concentration of salt water, the current passes right through. It's time to unveil our bath-bound dummy.
Oh, Jamie, we have always dreamed of such a thing.
I think we're good. Let's do it.
He's perfect.
Our first problem has been encountered.
Well, almost.
His arms fell off.
I say we get some carrots and some celery and have a stew.
The copper paddles are inserted into the chest. Ballistics gel has similar properties to human flesh and should conduct electricity the same way.
This relay is set to be tripped at about 6 volts, which we know from experimentation means that there's about 70 milliamps traveling across the heart.
But it wouldn't be MythBusters without pyrotechnics. So Adam's rigged up a flash pot to ignite when the current hits 70 milliamps.
When we get a lethal voltage across the heart of the dummy, it's going to short this wire, poof, and we'll get a nice poof and we'll all know. And it's instantly reloadable.
The MythBuster way.
3, 2.
That was cool.
Isn't that good?
Right, this bath is hot. Time to apply an appliance. This hairdryer has a ground fault interrupter, so if the MythBusters have created a proper circuit, it should cut out the moment it hits the water.
3, 2, 1, go!
Uh-oh, something's not right.
Oh, look at the water flowing.
It's pumping. What is our amperage? What's our amperage?
0.95 AC.
What kind of ground fault interruption is this? It's pumping water. I would say that's bad.
Well, the relay didn't trip, and the ammeter didn't show enough amperage to kill somebody. That's it. I think we should try an appliance without the ground fault interrupter next. So what do we got?
Well, we got a radio. All right, give me the countdown, baby.
Okay, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop.
Tori's shelf collapses like a gallows trapdoor.
We're up to 1 milliamp now.
1 milliamp, 1/70th of a lethal dose of electricity. Well, that's bupkis, I believe, is the scientific term for that.
Something's bupkis, Adam. Question is, what? The MythBusters call in some electrical engineering know-how for a powwow.
Transistor, and then the second part, the part that feeds through the transistor.
That says on the coil right there on the...
So is the current flowing through the bottom?
Turns out there are 2 faults in the system. Adam and Jamie.
Well, Jamie, I mean, this is just a classic MythBusters screw-up we've got on our hands. First off, the resistance of the human body in the bath is more like 1,000 ohms rather than the 20,000 ohms that we've got read on the ballistics gel. Then it turns out that electrocution is classified as 6 milliamps across the heart, not the 60 we were originally testing for.
And then I screwed up because I had the multimeter on the wrong setting and I was measuring voltage instead of amperage, which meant that we weren't getting the circuit grounded.
Talk about getting your wires crossed. Oh well, even the MythBusters make mistakes. The guys quickly recalibrate the system.
That's it.
And the GFI dryer takes another dive.
2, 1. Well, the ground fault interrupter tripped immediately, thus proving itself a life-saving device.
Okay, so now the circuit's working. This older hairdryer doesn't have a ground fault interrupter. On each drop, the amount of current across the paddles is relayed to Jamie's computer.
I'd call that dead. Yeah, what are you reading, Jamie? I'm seeing 8.5 milliamps here across the heart.
This one is dead as a dodo, well over the threshold.
All right, shall we power down?
So Adam was way off. Forget 70 milliamps. Just 6 milliamps fizzing through a body is enough to cause loss of muscular control, making it impossible to get out of the bath.
Next up, toaster. Smell the danger. All right, you ready?
Recording.
Okay, pulling in 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
Our friend here is toast.
Oh yeah, 12 milliamps. That's very lethal, totally lethal. Toasters, no good. Next item, one of my personal favorites.
The curling iron. Let's go. What are you, Pee Wee Hermione?
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 4.5. It's going to be really uncomfortable.
I think you got out of the bath by now.
You think you can? Don't forget, we've got 4.5 milliamps at the heart. It means the rest of your body is going to be like, lethal dose is 6 milliamps, but 4.5's got to suck.
4.5 milliamps, it's a little close for comfort. I think I wouldn't want to be in there with that.
And now the iron, or as we refer to it around here, Fierro de los Muertos. Wow, that's the highest spike yet. We got 32 milliamps. This thing is literally pumping death into our subject here.
32 milliamps. That's more than 5 times the lethal limit.
Items that had large heating elements are delivering a lot more current, and that's specifically because a heating element is basically a modified short across wire, so it's a lot of exposure to the water.
The MythBusters also discovered that if the appliance lands closer to the metal drain, the dose of electricity is drastically reduced because the current has less distance to travel.
We know that you can be electrocuted. Now we'd like to find out what would happen if you added something like bubble bath to the water.
Will the water's conductivity be changed?
Nope, that's not as much as it was the last time. It's only about 11 milliamps. Last time it was 18, I believe. The soap suds don't help it at all. In fact, it seems like it cut it down. Next up, we're going to try 200 mils of fake urine in the bath.
Our urine is just water with salt and food dye added.
Fake wee test in 3, 2, 1.
Well, that's got it. It's just right in the death zone.
And finally, Epsom salts. Remember, salt normally increases water's conductivity.
Big spike.
Wow!
That was over an amp. That'd be huge. You'd be toast. You'd fry. You'd boil.
This from the guy who thought nothing would happen.
I really liked this one. We learned a lot on this. You can definitely die if you drop an appliance into the tub.
Oh, absolutely. Surprisingly, it actually turns out that the location of where the appliance falls in the bathtub really has a strong effect on the severity of the shock you'd get.
And what's in the water will determine how quickly you die.
Everyone always wants to know if we're just busting myths or if we're actually confirming them. And this one, 100% confirmed. Yeah, we're done.
The MythBusters are trying to create quicksand. Not ordinary quicksand, killer quicksand. Stuff that'll suck you right under.
I'm pretty sure it's going to work. It's just a question of how well, because while I know that we can sink in there, I don't know how fast we're going to get it. The ideal would be to get so you plummet in there, but then you get stuck.
For this one, the guys are going to need one mighty big bucket.
Whoa! Stop!
This 2,000-gallon tank has played a starring role before on MythBusters.
Hey Adam, did you hear the guy tell us what this was for?
What was it for?
It was like fecal matter.
So I'm going to cut this tank down to just over 8 feet from the inside. Oh, that was really satisfying. These gauze holes will actually allow water to get out, but keep the sand inside, and that'll make the top of our quicksand not like a slurry, but actually look more like sand, which, you know, is more realistic to what people think of quicksand looking like.
Meanwhile, Jamie and Christine start work on the diffuser. The gauze will let water rise into the tank, but stop sand from flowing back into the pump.
So what we've got is a huge 6-foot tank, it's about 8 feet high. We're going to feed water up through this diffuser into 7 feet of sand. And when we get that water to flow at the right rate, what we should end up with is quicksand.
Our task is not only to build quicksand, but killer quicksand. And I have my doubts that we'll be able to do this because when you start to think about what's involved, the sand actually makes it harder for you to drown in it because it's in effect making the water more dense. Water with sand in it is heavier than water without sand in it. Hence, you're going to be more buoyant.
This pool will serve as the catch basin and reciprocating tank for our quicksand rig. You're looking good. Another foot. All right, that ought to do it. Yeah!
The tank's in position.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's time to fill the pool. And that's when the quicksand experiment gets a little sticky.
Crank it all away.
Adam wants to call in a fire hose and get the job done quickly. That means getting permission to use a hydrant, phone calls, probably some expense. But Jamie's happy to use his garden hose.
It's a little under 30 seconds for 5 gallons.
All right, which means 10 gallons a minute. So 10 minutes is 100 gallons, 1,000 gallons is 100 minutes, 2,000 gallons is 200 minutes. It's just over 3 hours to fill that tank, and then another probably hour or 2 to get that pool. So it's 5 hours of filling. That's as opposed to doing the fire hose where it's like 40 minutes.
3 hours and 20 minutes.
His partner won't budge. Under that beret is one stubborn MythBuster.
But
nope, we can continue to not err on the side of caution and just waste time because you're cheap.
I'm just expressing my opinion, and I'm not giving you your opinion. I'm just saying I think it's
about every one of my opinions. Every last single one of them. Yeah. You have a different one, and you talk until I can't stand to hear you talk anymore, and then we go with your idea.
Yeah, you baby. You know, now I got to listen to you whine about it all the time, and you know, the whole time it's filling, it's like, wah, wah, wah.
I like to do things efficiently and kind of fast, and Jamie is always looking for the kind of lowest amount of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like the least amount of effort involved. So he wants to go with just the garden hose, where I like to go with the fire hose. The fire hose, I know the whole thing's full inside of like 15, 20 minutes, you know, but the garden hose is going to take several hours.
But there's no time for tantrums.
I'm going to go turn on the water.
20,000 pounds of sand have just arrived.
That's a lot of sand!
Along with an engineering geologist who knows plenty about quicksand.
more easily forms in a situation where you have very fine sand. In fact, geologists sometimes call it sugar sand. So most of your quicksand is in really fine-grained sand.
So Tom, the 20,000 pounds of sand we've got here, is this great for quicksand?
Oh, this is probably as good as it gets because it's very fine-grained and there's so much surface area here that when the water flows through it means the water can grab onto that and that'll create the quick condition.
This irrigation pump can move up to 1,400 gallons of water a minute. But if it stops while Adam and Jamie are in the quicksand, the sand will suddenly compact. And the MythBusters will have some pressing problems. Adam and Jamie are suddenly facing danger on two fronts. On one hand, the guys could be sucked under by killer quicksand, or they could be crushed.
Tom's pointing out quite realistically that if the pump stops during the experiment, we could die because we'll be encased in 20,000 pounds of sand, is cause for real concern.
Before I talked to Tom, I wasn't that concerned about going into the quicksand, but I think he has a good point, and we should be careful with this.
We'll leave Adam and Jamie to ponder their fine-grained fate. There are a host of medical-related myths swirling around cyberspace. Remember the government mind-controlled chips being placed in the arms of blood donors?
Little sting, here we go.
When Adam and Jamie busted that one, it was a shot in the arm for science and common sense.
I don't notice anything at all. I feel perfectly normal now.
Now the build team have got another myth that'll really get under your skin.
You guys are gonna love this one. Our next bit is called the exploding tattoo. Apparently, the myth goes that if you have some sort of decorative tattoo and go into an MRI, the tattoo explodes.
Oh, are you worried?
Well, I'm assuming that you guys are going to put me into an MRI.
Let's outline the situation. Tattoo ink, especially ink used more than 20 years ago, contains traces of metal. A magnetic resonance imager, or MRI, is basically a powerful magnet with a force at least 30,000 times greater than the Earth's magnetic field. When metal fragments in the tattoo meet the MRI magnet, so the story goes, the result is a lot more painful than actually getting the tattoo in the first place.
So are you going to get an MRI?
No.
No?
No.
You understand that the job on MythBusters is to put your body to the test, and being the one with the tattoos, I think you need to go at least have an MRI on your arm.
Come on, Scotty. Adam and Jamie are about to throw themselves into quicksand. The least you could do is stick your inked up arm in an MRI. After all, it is for science.
My ghost dog.
I think she actually looks scared.
She looks cute in that nightgown, though.
Staff here have heard the exploding tattoo story, but don't think Scotty will wind up incapacitated.
1 or 2 patients out of 100 who have a tattoo and an MRI scan to have a reaction, but the reactions that have been described are all minor, consisting of a little bit of discomfort or some redness at the tattoo, but nobody has described exploding tattoos.
Do you think it's possible that the magnetic field is inducing some sort of current in the pigments or in the material in the tattoo?
It's possible, but it seems unlikely because usually to get induced currents you need lengths of wire or loops, so it's hard to see how these tiny particles could have currents induced in them, but nobody could say it's not happening for sure.
Are you okay?
What's that smell? It smells like sizzling bacon.
At the first sign of trouble, the scan will be stopped.
Looks like a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
An MRI scan targets the body's billions of hydrogen atoms. The atoms line up with the strong magnetic field and are then bombarded by radio waves. The radio waves are absorbed by the atoms and the resulting signal sent to a computer, which turns the data into a 2D image.
Is there any distortion in the image or sign of the tattoo?
No.
No?
Scotty's arm full of ink is still intact. No pain, no discomfort, no explosion.
Well, you're looking all right.
But of course, the tattoo myth ain't busted yet. The build team's barely scratched the surface.
We still have to bust this myth. It looks like we're gonna have to do some experiments. We're gonna have to get the compounds that go into all of these pigments and test them individually to find out what could cause any sort of irritation or explosion.
So what goes into tattoo ink? The pigments are a potpourri of chemical compound, including iron oxide, zinc oxide, and titanium dioxide.
So the theory is the metallic components that are used in tattoo pigments have been having some reactions with the MRI magnetic field. So what we have here are a couple of those components. We have iron oxide, we have the copper and the zinc, and the mercury. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to expose some of these materials to a strong electromagnetic field.
We can see if the pigments line up with the magnetic field. Secondly, if the theory is that there's sort of a current being induced, we have a voltmeter to check for that. And of course, if the pigments are creating some sort of excitation in the skin and heating it, we have a thermometer to check and see if there's any temperature difference.
Which compound is the culprit? One by one, they're tested.
Okay. Copper and zinc.
But only one, iron oxide, reacts to the magnetic field.
After all of that testing, it looks like iron oxide is definitely the culprit here. I mean, you could see it just moving over the magnetic field. It would line up.
Well, we still need to make a tattoo explode. So what I'm thinking is we'll make our own ink. Mix in some iron oxide, make it a thick batch, and then tattoo someone. I figured you'd be the good person who would try it on.
No, no, no,
All right.
no.
The Junior Mythbusters are trying to make tattoo ink that will explode in an MRI. They're going shopping for art supplies at the butcher's.
We need some pork.
But yeah, but it has to have the skin left on it.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
We can cut the meat off the skin. So what's it gonna be, the leg or the belly?
Don't ask me, I'm a vegetarian.
I would say we should go with the belly. I mean, it's like a nice big canvas that we can draw over.
It's probably a little more tender as well.
Hey, look, it still has little hairs on it.
This is my old friend Maddie, and he is responsible for the new ink on my arm.
Welcome, Maddie.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And he's here today. He's gonna show us how to tattoo on our pig.
All right.
Hey, Maddie, you ever tattoo a pig before?
No, I never tattooed a pig. I was told to try pig ears when I was learning how to tattoo, but I never tried a pig. I used my own leg.
Matty's heard the MRI myth too.
I don't think that it's true because I would hear a lot more about people coming back to the tattoo parlors and being like, what happened to my tattoo? But I've never heard anybody come into a tattoo parlor and say, I went and got an MRI and my tattoo exploded. You know, I think that would be pretty big news.
The pork is cut into portions. Matty will use 2 different inks, a regular tattooing pigment and a special brew full of iron oxide, the one compound that reacted to the electromagnet.
So, Maddie, here's the ultra metallic pigment. Check it out, see if you think the consistency is good enough.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right, it's time to get some pigment into this pig.
It's kind of gross.
You're not getting near my arm. You're not getting near me with that thing.
Carrie, it might be safer if you stick to felt tip.
Let's see if there's any change near it.
Careful your credit cards and stuff again. Make sure you don't wear a wallet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, look at that. I have bobby pins in. I could feel that, too.
Back at the MRI machine, the super iron oxide ink takes on a life of its own. The container is suddenly sucked right into the core.
So that ain't gonna work. Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
That was completely nutty. The iron oxide got completely sucked into the magnet.
Yeah, the box flew right off, and that was pretty cool.
Thank goodness we taped the top. Otherwise, I don't think they'd let us come back.
The pork bellies are primed for scanning.
Okay, so this is our special MythBusters Super Iron Oxide ink.
So if anyone's going to explode, it's going to be this one.
There's a glitch on the image. The heavy iron oxide content seems to be having an effect.
So you think that what we tattooed is actually making an interference on your scan?
Definitely.
But it's not explosive.
Well, it didn't explode, so go ahead and blot it and see if any of the pigments came up.
No. No pigment's been pulled to the surface.
All right, so next one we're going to do is the traditional iron oxide, what you normally find in a regular tattoo parlor.
The iron oxide in the regular ink also interferes with the scan, but the effect is much smaller. But in the end, Scotty, Tori, and Carrie are left with chunks of unexploded tattooed pork.
All right, Scotty, exploding tattoos, tell us what you came up with.
Well, clearly iron oxide is the culprit here. Iron oxide definitely reacts to the magnetic field, and it's very common in a lot of tattoo inks. But at most, it's going to cause heating. There was one case of a blister with the operators that we talked to, but it's not going to explode.
So you're telling us there was no exploding tattoo?
No, Jamie, I know that disappoints you, but I'm a little relieved about that.
So myth confirmed, plausible?
Myth busted, I'm saying.
The MythBusters killer quicksand rig's almost ready.
Push up, push up.
My foot was stuck under it, sorry.
Well, you know, we make this stuff up as we go, and it's always surprising when it actually works like we thought it would, and that's kind of the way this looks like it's doing. Everything's coming together relatively quickly. Very good.
Oh, look at that, that's beautiful.
Just gotta hope it works.
If this valve right here failed, the pump would cease to put water into the tank and our sand would become a deadly solid mass of sand that we would be in.
There's nothing like a huge piece of earth-moving equipment to bring out the boy in Adam.
You're good. Stop.
Well, how about that?
Now I gotta figure out how we're gonna get at that underside. That's pretty scary letting it go all at once. There she goes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, look at the bag drain. Oh, that is so cool.
What do you think? I got my own island. All right, well, the tank is full of sand and water, and we're sort of primed.
Well, let's turn on the pump and start getting some hydration to the sand. Wow, Jamie.
Oh my God!
No problem at all, man. It's going right away. Jamie?
Yeah?
I believe we have quicksand here.
Now, Adam and Jamie were planning on having a nice sandy surface, but what they've got is a quagmire and a quandary.
Unfortunately, our outlet ports aren't letting the water out nearly fast enough. These ports up here that I've put in are supposed to let water out before it reaches over the top of the sand, so that it can look like a sandy beach, and then all of a sudden it turns into quicksand. Unfortunately, the sand is so fine, it's clogging up those ports, and the water's just going up and over it.
The rig is working. Everything's working exactly as planned. We just need to figure out how to filter this sand a little better to get something that looks good.
We've put in some cotton batting, which is like stuffing for stuffed animals, or actually for quilts. And hopefully the larger surface area of that will allow more water to flow through while still holding back the sand. So we're just about to try it. Yeah, it seems okay. Let's get more sand in.
Meanwhile, Christine's managed to finish the hydrometer without destroying Jamie's workshop.
This hydrometer will give us a reading on this water and will tell us if we put it in the quicksand whether it is more or less dense than this water.
The hydrometer floats in the water and its buoyancy level is marked. Then it's dunked in the tank.
It's floating. That just shows really nicely that the water-sand mixture is a lot more dense than water.
This is what it would be if it was H2O.
So in theory, a person will float better in quicksand than normal water. The killer quicksand myth is on shaky ground.
We have several escape techniques. First and foremost, we have what everyone would want if they were near quicksand, is a vine. Secondly, we have a walking stick, which is often recommended in the literature we've read about quicksand as a helpful tool for getting out of quicksand. And third is a bar, which we can throw across the top of the tank, which I should be able to hold on to in case I get really desperate. And at that point, I'll be making those sounds that you just don't make when you're kidding.
Worst case scenario is that Adam dies. And of course, we don't want to see that happen. I'd hate to have to hunt for another co-host. But you know, we've got all the precautions that we can think of reasonably to have on this, and I'm fairly sure that he'll be okay one way or another.
The pith helmet is always a good technique for finding someone who is drowned in quicksand, because it will be floating on the surface there. Oh, look, it's a white sandy beach. I don't feel any danger at all.
You will, Adam, you will. The pump switched on. Water begins to rise through the sand. As liquefaction occurs, Adam gets that sinking feeling.
You know, it feels more dangerous now than I thought. Whoa! Woo, let's go! Well, I started going down really slowly, and then when the water got up to my chest in the sand and water mixture, I kind of felt where I hit my buoyant point, which is just probably right about here. Now we've turned the pump off, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to be able to get back out of here until we turn the pump back on.
Adam is far less dense than the quicksand, and so he's suspended.
I think we've created a very realistic scenario for a worst-case scenario quicksand.
Drown, you bastard.
We're using incredibly fine sand, usually called sugar sand. We've got water bubbling up through it like an artesian well, and you know, when we get it working, we definitely go down in it.
I got one leg almost. This vine is great. Oh my God.
Now it's Jamie's turn in the tank.
That's amazing. This is just so buoyant. I'm totally floating here. And I'm not touching the bottom, so that, look at the buoyancy on that. I'm like a piece of styrofoam in here.
This is more fun than should be allowed.
All right, what is our final verdict on movie-style killer quicksand?
Well, we know that people and even animals have died in quicksand, but it's usually because of exposure of some sort, like dehydration. You know, they were no longer capable of extracting themselves, so they stayed there till they died.
And the elements got to them. So it's not really like the quicksand dragged them under slowly like we see in the movies and then drowned them.
No, in fact, you're quite buoyant because the quicksand is sort of a mixture of sand and water that's actually quite heavy, and you float like a cork on it. The best thing you can do is just lay on your back, and you're going to bob around fairly high up in it, and then, of course, use the vine or the walking stick or whatever happens to be handy to try and gently pull yourself out of it.
So the MythBusters' final word on Hollywood-style killer quicksand: confirmed, plausible, or busted?
Surprised you even have to ask. It's absolutely busted. No such thing.
I agree. Completely busted. Three, two, one, go.
The MythBusters are defying death in the quest for flight.
It's not a question of whether we'll get badly hurt, it's how badly hurt.
And we're busy busting myths about ways to legally beat the police speed radar.
Well, it didn't disappear.
Are you surprised?
Absolutely.
Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And Jamie Heineman.
Quack, damn you.
I wouldn't say Jamie's an evil genius.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
When will the fun ever stop?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Ever since we realized we couldn't, humans have wanted to fly like the birds. Gliders, hang gliders, and parachutes have made non-powered flight possible.
Woo! I fart on you!
But is it possible for a man to fly accidentally?
Plywood builder. Walk me through this one.
Apparently a construction worker up on the top of a building was holding on to a 4x8 sheet of plywood on a windy day, and the wind picks him up off the top of the building over the edge. Not only does he manage to hold on to the plywood, but he controls it well enough to be able to land several floors below in the building unharmed.
Cool, flying myth.
Yeah.
What's the overall plan here? What are we going to end up doing?
Well, I think Buster's going for a ride with a sheet of plywood, but ultimately, if we can, one of us should take a ride.
You know, if I'm going to take that leap with a sheet of plywood as my only safety, I want to do some very serious testing before we do that. I mean, I'm thinking scale plywood and figure correct weights to scale and really see what kind of lift ratios we get out of this thing before we take that leap.
No matter what you're searching for, you'll probably find it in Jamie's M5 storage system.
Always excellent.
If you look hard enough, you might even find a mini Buster.
Jamie, there's a guy here who seems kind of perfect.
It's a toy prototype built by Jamie.
I think we should go for the goatee, but that's just because I like a goatee.
Mini Buster is the right height, but is he the right weight?
I am roughly 6 feet at 180 pounds.
Thought you were 190.
Okay, I'm just using some easy, I'm 190. Let's say, stand 85th percentile male, right? 6 feet, 180 pounds. Proportionally, that's 72 inches to 180 pounds. 10 inches tall, 25 pounds. I just did the math. I need him to weigh 25 pounds.
So you're saying that he needs to be built out of depleted uranium?
Yeah. Do you have some? Is it under D or U over here?
Adam figures he should be calculating volume, not size. So in fact, Mini Buster is close to being the right weight. The small scale testing also needs a sheet of mini ply.
Just almost exactly 50 pounds.
We're weighing a piece of plywood so that we can replicate this in a small scale.
But even this tiny piece of ply is proportionately too heavy. Christine reduces its weight by drilling lots of small holes.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. This is a scale replica of what, say, Adam or I with a full-size sheet of plywood would be if we were 10 inches tall.
A high-speed camera will shoot Mini Buster falling in front of a scale rule. A computer will then calculate his drop rate. The test is repeated with the mini ply.
Okay, Christine.
So what did we learn with the drop tests of the miniature Buster rig?
Well, the plywood slowed him down about 25%.
25% from a fall with nothing, right?
Yes.
Just the human falling.
Yes.
But 25% slower is still not slow enough. If they tried the plywood myth themselves,
The best that we would be able to accomplish, it sounds to me, is just broken legs and arms, but maybe not a broken back or a smashed skull.
I'm willing to settle for that.
it's too big a risk for a human, but no problem for Buster. That's once his rubber crash test dummy hands have been swapped for some plywood grabbing clamps.
See whether it actually will support somebody on it, because Buster happens to be about my size and weight, so looks like it works. Now, Buster, this won't hurt a bit.
So Buster's new super grip robo hands are welded to his arms.
Plywood.
According to the myth, the builder was holding a sheet of 5-ply when he took his unscheduled flight. That's made up of 5 thin sheets of timber compressed together. As well as trying a regular sheet, Adam and Jamie will use the 5 individual sheets to design their own flying rigs.
So what are you thinking for taking 5 plies from a sheet of plywood and getting the most amount of wind resistance out of them?
Well, my thought, first off, was to array them like a car leaf spring to where we extend the surface area.
You might, of course, end up spinning like a helicopter all the way down.
Which might not be a bad thing, because helicopters, as we know, land a little softer than just the same shape without the propellers, because they're spinning and they get lift from that.
Yeah, but I mean, skydivers also have what they call a death spiral.
Well, there is that.
See, I'm thinking of something totally different. I'm thinking of laminating them in such a way that you actually get a curve out of it.
Sure, the original myth only involves 1 sheet of 5-ply, but Adam and Jamie really want this to work. So they're using the 5 single sheets to build the most efficient plywood flying rigs they can. Adam coats the cardboard sheets with light spray-on glue and then puts them together in various 5-sheet permutations.
It's a nurse's hat. Oh, Nurse Savage. So these two represent Jamie and my first ideas about the best ways to slow your descent using 5 plies of plywood. I went with the air scoop idea, but Jamie is trying to make the most square profile to the air going down. And then I started to think, could you just have a little hole in the center and get a lot more square footage? I'll try this. Then I started moving towards a scoop like this, so it's a kind of bridge between Jamie and I. And then we get to these like radical scoops, all of which can be done out of plywood. I've developed a feeding bag because I find lunch just takes too long and I'd rather just eat while I'm working.
Adam prefers the parachute approach, so he and Myth-Tern Christine decide to check out Jamie's old army chute.
Maybe it works by the top being bigger than the bottom, and so air is scooped into it.
I think we need to inflate it to actually see how it's constructed. Because this is a little confusing.
Where's that fan? Let's see what we got. This parachute is about 12 feet wide and 28 feet long. That's almost 300 square feet of area working against the wind. Turned off my fan.
300 square feet, and not much weight.
168, it's about a 10-pound parachute.
I feel like I'm caught in an unruly evening gown.
All right, so it's about a 10-pound bag.
The parachute weighs 5 times less and has more than double the surface area of the 50-pound plywood.
I guess it might work.
So what have you been thinking?
I'm not sure which approach is best. Should we be going towards a parachute or an actual airfoil? You know.
Well, I mean, I think we want to do one of each. I think we want to do one parachute design, like my flying nun thing, and one wing design.
Using the cardboard sheets to design his wing, Jamie attempts to maximize surface area while not compromising strength. The scale prototypes for Jamie's wing and Adam's parachute are complete. Time for a test run.
We're going to do some drop tests with some of the first mock-ups of these flying rigs.
I've got one that kind of looks like the flying nun's habit, and Jamie's got one that's just a broad piece of as much material as he could get with a couple of stringers.
Hopefully we'll have at least some idea what this is going to do before we actually go out and do it in full scale.
First off, MythBuster gets no help at all.
0.9 seconds.
Go.
Then some combination wing parachute designs slow his fall.
Go.
A little.
1.11 seconds.
What's
Is
our
this
next
the Jamie
point?
wing?
Yeah.
Jamie wing.
3, 2, 1, go.
1.05 seconds. Back to the old drawing board.
Now for Adam's pentagonal parachute design.
That actually wasn't too bad.
That was the best one yet. That was 1.48 seconds.
But Jamie won't take this lying down. He refines his wing prototype.
Ready when you are.
3, 2...
He twists his wing to make it spin.
1.4.
It's interesting. That's up there with the high performers on the other ones.
Yeah.
So we've decided on the two that we're going to make. One is the hexagonal parachute and the other one is the wing here then, because this actually got almost as high a performance.
All right.
The cardboard scale models have done their job, but the real test will come when the flying rigs go full size. Scotty, Carrie, and Tori have been like little Santa's helpers.
Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Whenever Adam and Jamie have devised some myth-busting mayhem, it's often been this trio's job to make their boss's twisted visions a reality. This time, however, they're going to be in the driver's seat.
That doesn't look right.
All right, guys, so your first story on your own. What have you got?
Well, what we're going to try to do is legally beat the police radar.
Legally, huh? So not the commercially available radar or laser jammers.
Exactly. We've heard all kinds of ideas, like jingling your keys in front of your window.
Disco balls, CD from the rearview mirror, foil on your hubcaps, putting LEDs around your license plate, microwaves, and covering the entire car in foil.
So how are you going to tackle this one? What's the plan?
Well, obviously, we need to get a radar gun. We're also going to try the LiDAR, which is a laser system.
Lift it up a little bit more.
And to test them, the first thing they're going to need is a car. Earl, the MythBusters Cadillac, should do the job. You remember Earl. He's the car the guys use for target practice.
Oh, man.
Our resident grease monkey, Scotty, has to get him back on the road to recovery.
It's going to be stubborn.
While Scotty coaxes the caddy back to life, Tori and Carrie do a little radar research.
You're not working fast enough, dude.
You got up to 16 that time.
That's it?
Yeah.
I felt like 60.
Now, Carrie's packing a normal radar gun. It fires microwaves that hit the target and bounce back at a slightly different frequency. The frequency difference determines the target's speed. Tori's wielding a laser speed gun, or LiDAR. It shoots 1,000 samples per second of infrared laser light at the target. Speed is calculated by comparing the distance between each sample.
Before we get to the real car and do tests, we want to do some sample material tests on the RC car. But before we can even do that, we have to make sure that the RC car will even show up on the radar gun.
The RC car has a top speed of between 5 and 6 miles per hour. But will the radar detect it?
4, 5. We got a reading!
So the RC car is visible to the radar. Now, to make it invisible.
Right now I'm making extra shells for the body of the RC car, because now that we know how the radar and the LiDAR work, we're going to do some tests on all of our materials. Beautiful, it came out perfectly.
The game of radar hide and seek has been played out since World War II and has sparked the growth of stealth technology. Modern stealth aircraft have flat surfaces and sharp edges. They're also coated with materials that absorb radar.
So every foot?
It'll take way too long to coat Earl in all the materials the myths mention. The remote-controlled car is a much simpler option. But why the blue paint?
Theoretically, it's supposed to change the wavelength of the reflective light on the LiDAR, so we'll see if we can pick this up at a different distance. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, go! How fast? 5 miles an hour, 6 topping out when you get to the finish line.
We'll never get pulled over for going 6 miles an hour.
So we're actually picking up this car sooner with the blue than without the blue. Isn't it supposed to be absorbing the light?
That's what they say.
It's actually making it easier for us.
Myth number 2, prism tape. This stuff's used to make fishing lures. It might fool fish, but can it rattle the radar?
All right, yellow reflective. Go. Well, the reflective tape is, as far as the RC control is, it's a myth. I'm picking it up a lot faster than the control.
And I have no change at all. It's the same thing. I'm picking it up just at 50 feet.
So far, no good.
The most common myth that we've heard of is the tin foil or aluminum foil. So what we're gonna try now is the aluminum foil over the car.
Go when you're ready.
37.
Is it doing anything?
I'm actually picking it up sooner. So if you're avoiding a ticket, this is not the way to go.
One of the myths says that an LED will mess up a LiDAR detector. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rig up this test one with an LED.
Go!
LEDs are infrared, and they're supposed to scramble the LiDAR's infrared beam.
So the LED do anything?
The LED seemed to have no effect on the laser.
Well, it didn't have a significance difference, but it was about 10 feet in difference. We might want to try it on the big car as well.
So on full scale, that could be a mile.
The only thing left, a type of paint which is supposed to absorb radar.
It's actually embedded with a bunch of iron and makes it really heavy. It goes on like frosting. And it's so expensive that if you were actually going to paint your car with this, you might as well just pay off all your speeding tickets.
The paint's so heavy, the RC car won't even go.
Don't give up, Scotty.
Can barely go.
Has this myth been busted before Earl the caddy is out of the garage?
They look really cool, guys. Did anything you tried have any effect on the radar's ability to detect them?
The radar can detect all of these cars.
We also can write off the prism tape. It actually made it more detectable. It's supposed to deflect the laser, but it's actually reflecting it back better.
So the plan now is to go with the most popular ones like flat black and tin foil, and we have a few tricks up our sleeve as well.
But before Scotty reveals her tricks, can Adam make plywood become flywood? Adam and Jamie are testing the myth of a builder flying off a skyscraper while holding a sheet of plywood. They're helping the myth out by using 5 single sheets to create their own flying rigs. After testing scale models, Adam has decided on a parachute-like design, and Jamie is building a wing.
Go back further. So.
The plywood wing will be big, 4 feet wide by 20 feet long. And that's the reason they're measuring the workshop.
Never build anything inside a space that you can't get it out of.
The plywood sheets may be heavy, but they're also fragile. Adam removes his 5 sheets from the 12 available.
Screw.
Make that 11.
One tore, bringing it out, trying to get it out of the way of Jay, the cameraman.
Using a scale model, he calculates the angles for the full-size version. He measures up the sheets and then lays them out. Meanwhile, Jamie is placing the sheets for his wing on a cradle made from 2x4s.
Well, look at what you're doing. You're going to laminate it up on the curve.
Yeah, you know, I figure we'll get the glue to actually help it hold its shape before we put the struts in.
Jamie's plan is simple but effective. He'll achieve a curve in his wing by placing weights in the center of the plywood sheets. When the ply is glued, the curve should remain. Meanwhile, Adam glues his plywood using a Jackson Pollock impersonation. Then, to press the sheets together, Adam uses a Fred Astaire impersonation. Adam's pentagonal plywood parachute is taking shape. He's just got to remember, those sheets are really fragile. Now they're down to 10 sheets, and there's no room for error.
I need one more piece.
The last sheet of ply is found and slid into place carefully.
Got it? All right, cool. You can let that down. Thanks, honey. Boy, that was a pain in the ass.
Jamie's wing is looking good.
Oh, and I want to put the strip down.
Narrow strips of ply are used as strengtheners.
Yeah, charm.
Okay, now we go out and bring the pipe in.
Finally, the curve is achieved by adding whatever weights Jamie and Christine can find.
There we go.
Cool.
I'm actually really happy how this came out. And tomorrow when the glue is set, we'll remove all the wood, and hopefully this will retain as much as possible of this curve. This will give us something to work off of for the final touch, which is the twist. Because I'm going to put a diagonal on this that'll torque this thing a little bit and create a propeller shape, which gives us the spin, and the spin gives us the lift, which slows us down.
Could a builder fly through the air on a sheet of plywood? Adam and Jamie have glued together 2 plywood flying rigs for Buster to find out. But how will they know if Buster survives?
Jamie, a key part of this myth is going to be how lethal is Buster's impact when he lands. And we have installed auto industry computer accelerometers in him before with greater and lesser degrees of success. I mean, we're always entering MythBusters meter hell. I think it's time that we build our own G-force meter.
Yeah, you know, if we can't find it, we'll build it ourselves.
Exactly.
Inspiration comes to Adam in the form of a light bulb.
I'm hoping that these light bulbs will end up being the sort of soul of MythBusters' home-built G-meter. We're going to put these inside a ball so that they break at a fatal amount of G-force.
And to add a little drama and realism, the bulbs are filled with fake blood. If they break, we'll know it.
It's a nice thing.
Isn't that cool? Don't you have all the same nefarious thoughts? Hey, you're dripping it.
The bulb is sealed and placed inside a pair of aluminum sugar scoops.
Ready?
Yeah.
Time for a test drop.
This should be the non-lethal distance. It made it. That's good. All right, I'm going to try the high point. Ready?
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks gruesome, doesn't it?
Oh, what a horror show.
The new G-force meter is instantly christened the Ball of Death. The MythBusters have turned decades of occupational health and safety death descriptions into a figure for brain death. 80 Gs for just 32 thousandths of a second. Because the ball is solid metal, it builds up a lot of G-force in just a small drop. But once it's cushioned by Buster's head, it'll survive a much bigger drop. Jamie has used weights to curve the plywood for his wing. But what will happen when the weights are removed?
Jamie, this looks great, man. It looks like it held its curve quite nicely. It was pretty darn rigid.
Yeah, it actually is holding its shape quite nicely.
It racks like a monster.
Which is what we want.
Twisting the plywood wing will turn it into a spinning propeller.
Yeah.
This will further slow its descent, in theory.
So we can rack it this way or rack it this way, depending on whether I want clockwise or counterclockwise rotation when we go down.
Which way you want to vomit?
Backed up.
Have fun flying with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Adam's plywood parachute will cause a little motion sickness. He's left one section unglued so as it can be pulled together to form the plywood into a dish shape.
Hey, Jamie. I'm gonna need some help with this.
Now be careful, in a blink you're gonna end up with a split right along that line.
Jamie and Adam's plywood creations are nearly done. Jamie uses a diagonal cord to increase the twist on his wing.
Okay, now let it go. That's more like it.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
And Adam, well, he's just Adam.
Whoa!
It comes as no surprise that Adam didn't measure up to see if his creation could actually exit the building.
Wait, you're caught. Snap.
Okay.
Jamie's wing made it outside and into the truck easily. But Adam's plywood parachute is a pretty close shave.
God, that just barely fit in there.
The Flying Plywood test site is at Hamilton Base in Novato, an hour north of San Francisco.
I want one of these for myself.
After 47 years as an Air Force bomber and fighter base, Hamilton closed in 1976. The old control tower will be the ideal place to drop Buster.
I think we're gonna need to use the crane to get up here.
Well, that's what the crane's for. Shouldn't be a problem.
That's perfect. We're actually going to do some drop tests with Buster and some various things that are mythically held to be able to help you survive a fall from several stories. I'll just move this over here.
Nothing much has changed in the last 100 years.
Hey, can someone let me out?
Our project today is mounting up the high-speed camera gauge right here on my right.
The tests will take place in front of a scale ruler. A computer attached to the high-speed camera will then be able to determine the exact drop rates. And it's all for this guy. But does he care?
He's a very relaxed dude.
He doesn't know what's about to happen to him.
Human transport.
When Buster drops, the ball of death G-force meter will tell us whether he survives or not.
Okay, be careful with this guy now. He has a brain.
Buster will be raised up on the crane and then dropped on cue via a cable quick release.
Once you get up in position, push the blue button and pull out the safety pin.
Okay.
When you pull out the safety pin, it's live, and when you yank on this, he'll drop.
I got it.
And to make sure Buster's the only one who drops, Jamie attaches himself to the crane with a safety harness.
This is so when the machine tips over, I'm held firmly in place and can't escape the destruction.
Those go under your butt. That was great. That was worth the whole season to watch that. There you go.
Up goes Buster, 60 feet up.
Oh man, Buster is toast.
So they can work out if the flying aids do slow him down, Buster's first drop will be totally unassisted and very painful.
3, 2, 1, go.
I was laying on the ground when he hit, and I felt the ground move a little bit.
I never get tired of doing that.
The high-speed camera reveals Buster is traveling between 34 and 35 miles per hour when he hits the ground.
What's the verdict, Christine?
I think he's dead.
That's a shocker.
Buster kind of looked like a baby bird that just fell out of the nest.
Since the police started using speed radar back in the 1960s, there have been a lot of myths about legal ways to beat it.
Are you ready?
Scotty, Carrie, and Tori used an RC car to put some of these myths to the test.
How fast? 5 miles an hour?
Now they're rigging up Earl, the MythBusters caddy, for a full-scale speed radar assault.
We're making a wheel made of mirrors that catches the wind. As the mirrors get to the back side of this wheel, they should reflect the radar back and fool the radar into thinking we're going slower than we actually are.
They plan to attach an array of mirrors to a bicycle wheel, which will spin on top of the car. But Jamie's got other ideas.
You get that thing spinning at 20 miles an hour, it's going to the glass is going to shatter, the thing's going to vibrate itself apart. I think you should get some 3/4-inch birch ply, a big rod compass. Draw yourself your 3-foot diameter circle and facet it off.
Suddenly, this radar rig isn't so simple. Jamie's just turned it into a big, complicated build. Still, it gives Scotty a bit more time to work on the caddy.
Come on!
It looks like she might need it. Meanwhile, Carrie's working on another myth.
I'm making a chaff gun that we can explode out the side of the caddy right now. I'm cutting up the foil into little pieces, loading it up like a potato gun, and shooting it off a fire extinguisher.
During World War II, aircraft under attack dropped large clouds of chaff to confuse enemy radar. The chaff was just small pieces of foil, which hid the plane's exact location.
Oh, I love it when things fit perfectly.
The chaff gun is powered by a modified fire extinguisher. And the test firing is a success.
So glad I gave up my desk job.
Did you ever have a desk job?
Second floor reception.
The revolving rig is also taking shape.
Theoretically, the radar will hit in here and it'll send a stronger signal to the receiver. And if this is moving slower than the car, then hopefully it'll read that instead of the car speed.
Carrie's also heard a myth about microwaves messing with radar.
I'm stripping the magnetron out of this microwave so we can mount it in the front of the caddy. And that way we shoot microwaves back at the radar and the LiDAR.
Well, if it doesn't beat the radar, maybe it'll intimidate the cop.
The LEDs didn't trick the LiDAR when they were mounted on the remote-controlled car, but Tori thinks they're worth another try. 300 LEDs will be wired up to the caddy's license plate. Finally, it looks like we're ready to roll. Revolving mirror rig? Check. Microwave gun? Check.
If I were you, I'd stay farther away from that.
Chaff gun? Check. LED license plate? Check. Now, do we have a car?
Whoa! That doesn't look right.
This is the California Highway Patrol Academy training course, and it's the ideal place to see if our Cadillac can slip underneath the radar. A few of the guys from CHIPS are on hand to oversee the experiment. If anything does beat the radar, they want to know about it.
This is gonna freak them out.
So in a lot of the tricked out cars I've seen, they've had a CD dangling from the mirror or they've had LEDs around their license plate. Does this do anything?
It's not going to do anything, and plus they're both illegal.
It's illegal?
You can't have anything hanging down from your rearview mirror. It's going to obstruct the driver's view.
So if you're gonna pull over somebody who has a CD hanging from their rearview mirror, I'm betting that you would pull over somebody that had a giant disco ball hanging from their rearview mirror.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that.
We're gonna try to get through the techniques that we think are kind of dumb first. We're gonna do them all together. CD, can attach that to the mirror.
All these shiny accessories are supposed to bounce back the radar's rays and confuse it.
Which, by the way, that's illegal.
But it looks so cool.
Lastly, can you jiggle these keys? Make sure it hits the radar.
That is so stupid.
On each pass, Scotty will keep the caddy steady at just under 50 miles per hour.
We're about to do a test. You ready? Okay, the Disco DeVille is
Locked, loaded, and ready to freak out the radar.
over.
Whenever you're ready, over.
On my way.
Ooh, got it on radar. 39, 40. 48, up to speed. 49.
All right,
I love that sound.
So keys, disco ball, CD, busted. No effect whatsoever.
Are you surprised?
Absolutely. All right, next let's do foil on the hubcaps.
Done.
The next radar myth, tin foil on the hubcaps.
Scotty, hit it.
$42, $43.
700 feet, 47 miles an hour.
Once again, though, the radar and the LiDAR have a fix on Scotty all the way.
Still jiggling the keys, still doesn't work.
Maybe that was too subtle.
I think maybe people think that because it's kind of crumbly, that the radar will shoot at the crumbles and maybe dissipate. But it's just one giant reflector, if you ask me.
You'll be able to see it from outer space.
Yeah, she's going fast. Or I'm just picking it up way sooner. 47.
Yep.
Oh, yeah! Foil's been foiled!
We'll see if the LEDs can light up this experiment.
One infrared license plate.
Perfect. All right, so the theory here is that these infrared LEDs are on the same wavelength and have enough intensity to fool the LiDAR.
300 LEDs are emitting infrared, but the LiDAR's own infrared beam is locked on all down the line.
47.
Busted!
I was aiming right at the LED license plate, and nothing changed.
Absolutely nothing changed.
Busted.
Busted.
Okay, let's try Carrie's magnetron gun.
And yes, I know I spelled magnetron wrong. That's supposed to have an E. Don't email me. That jumped up so fast. It is definitely working. The K-band radar operates on about the same frequency as a microwave, so we're gonna shoot microwaves towards it to try to confuse it.
I got a 49.
But the radar still has the caddy in its sights. No change at all. The magnetron theory is busted.
I had no difference in the speed. I got like 48 miles an hour. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah, and I picked her up right away.
Maybe the aluminum foil firing chaff gun will be able to trick the radar.
Scotty, we are good to go on the chaff gun.
On my way.
Run it, Scotty!
As the caddy passes the radar, Carrie will trigger the chaff gun from the back seat.
Ah, it didn't go! Why didn't it go?
I have a feeling she forgot to pull the pin.
Look at... Oh! Oh my God. I'm a total dumb... I don't know what's going on.
A quick reload, and we're ready for take 2. This time, Carrie's right on cue. But again, the radar is unaffected.
It all blew to the side.
Which is going to be more expensive, the speeding ticket or the littering ticket?
The littering ticket.
All right, now my favorite, the Wheel of Death.
The mirrors on the Wheel of Death are supposed to be revolving at a slower speed than Earl is traveling. Will the radar detect the speed of the mirrors or the speed of the caddy?
46, 47.
The radar result is exactly the same.
44, 42, 40.
Carrie detects an anomaly.
It's giving a weird Doppler reading, but overall, it's not really making it look like it's going any slower.
In fact, the only surprise is that you wouldn't be pulled over for having this on your car.
It'd definitely catch my attention, but it's not over height. There's nothing against it.
There's only one thing left to do to try and make the caddy stealthy. Cover the car with matte black paint. Will the matte finish reduce the car's reflectivity and absorb the radar signal?
It's like a 60s gang car. We're gonna pile in and go to a rumble.
Well, it sort of looks like a stealth fighter.
This is it. This is the one. This is the one where we think we may have the edge.
What do you got?
I got 48.
47.
47. Okay.
Got it right away. That was our best bet, and it's busted.
Time for the guys to report back to Adam and Jamie.
Well, we tried almost every theory that we heard. Disco ball, CD, keys.
Busted.
The ever popular foil in the hubcaps.
Busted.
LED.
Busted.
Microwaves.
My favorite. Busted.
Chaff gun.
Surprisingly busted.
And black paint and tinfoil all over your car.
Busted.
Totally out. Amazing.
The only thing that gave us any result, but just barely, is my favorite, and I think you're gonna like this one, Adam. The radar Wheel of Death.
Oh my God. What did this actually do?
Hardly anything at all. It just varied the audio tone that the radar sent back that let you know how fast the car was going.
I think if you're gonna get out of a ticket, short skirts and crying is still the way to go.
It's been a bad day for Buster.
He's lost his head.
They've amputated his hands, they've operated on his skull, and they've made him bleed. Could it get any worse?
Buster's gonna die.
While they're at Hamilton Base, Adam and Jamie are using Buster to test out a few other flying myths, like umbrellas. Christine loads up the Ball of Death G-force meter with the fake blood-filled light bulb.
All right, safety device number 1.
Buster's first mythical safety device is an open rain umbrella. Well, at least he won't get wet.
3, 2, 1, go. That was great, Jamie. Come on down. Well, it actually held up quite well. I'm looking forward to see if it slowed his fall even a little bit. First fall was 35 miles an hour. My guess is 33 miles an hour. Were you able to see that from up there?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. The umbrella held up like until just about the last 10 feet.
It's not the fall that gets you, it is that last 10 feet.
There's plenty of fake blood, but the ball of death reveals a surprise.
That's not that broken at all. There's one of two conclusions we can draw from this. Either the umbrella did a significant job in slowing his speed, or we're a little incompetent with our home-built G-meter. And personally, I'd vote for the second one.
The high-speed camera reveals what really happened.
Feet first. So, because the umbrella held him upright, he actually fell faster this time, 38 miles per hour.
Yeah, but what about the impact?
Speed isn't the only factor in a fall. How you impact also affects survivability. In his free fall, Buster's head and body hit the ground at the same time. Even though the umbrella drop was faster, Buster's body acted like a shock absorber, greatly reducing the impact on his head. That's why the ball of death only cracked.
He's probably dead anyway.
Oh, you're dead. Let's get the big picnic umbrella.
All right.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Good to go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. That was pretty cool. That didn't look entirely unsuccessful. I'm trying to keep a straight face, but I can't.
The picnic umbrella reduces Buster's speed to 29 miles per hour. Slower, but not slow enough.
He's dead.
It's no myth that a parachute is designed for this purpose, but can it open in only 60 feet?
On my mark, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That worked almost stunningly well.
Buster's down to 28 miles per hour, but unfortunately, his head smashes into his own knee.
I'm sorry. We did everything in our power, and Buster didn't make it.
Yeah.
Get off him, you pervert. He's a poor, defenseless dummy, and look what she's doing.
As well as being killed 4 times already, Buster has sustained some pretty serious injuries. Time for some in-the-field surgery.
All right. Let's get him up. Let's fly this guy.
But sometimes even a crash test dummy needs a little positive affirmation.
You know, Buster, everyone really appreciates how you're willing to take one for the team time and time again. Are you ready for a piece of plywood? Oh, I can tell you're feeling it. Oh, he's ready.
Finally, the original flying builder myth is to be put to the test.
He's gonna die, but it's gonna look great.
We're locked and loaded, over.
Remember, in the myth, the falling builder is able to glide gracefully back inside the skyscraper, totally unharmed.
Go. Buster was such a good dummy.
Rather than slowing him down, the plywood increases Buster's velocity to over 36 miles per hour. His body snaps the 5-ply sheet in half.
He's got blood dripping out the back of his head.
Oh.
Getting used to all this blood, Christine?
Still grosses me out.
We can look at the speed tests, and we can look at the death ball, but I don't think I need to see either of them to say this one's busted.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. He went straight down. There was no deflection off to the side or anything, and he's done for.
Let's go get our solutions. Let's go try my wooden parachute.
Okay.
Adam and Jamie have taken the 5-component layers of the plywood sheet and created 2 flying rigs for Buster to try. Jamie's design is based on a spinning wing, and Adam's is modeled on the parachute.
Ready to drop.
These rigs represent 3 days of skill, passion, and effort. Pity, really.
Well, a fat lot of good that did.
And that's why they don't make parachutes out of wood.
Oh well, the best laid plans. It was a nice idea.
Nice try. It worked most of the way.
I'm taking solace in the fact that your wing is going to fail so utterly spectacularly.
You're probably right. But then you never know.
Then you never know.
Jamie is quietly confident his rig will do the job.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Woo! Do you feel better now?
I do. I feel a lot better.
All this Buster dropping has created an impromptu MythBusters fan club.
So Adam, what do you think? Did he go slower at all? At least he didn't flip over again until the right at the last minute.
It didn't spin at all, and then he went totally sideways and landed on its edge, and he just collapsed with it. It was a horror show. And unfortunately, he was off center, and the high-speed camera caught none of it.
Bummer.
Oh, man. Poor guy.
And the crowd's verdict.
That was better than I could have ever hoped.
Buster's day has come to an end. Now it's time to see if a MythBuster can fly. Adam and Jamie rig up the zip line from the control tower to the crane. The crane backs away to tighten the cable.
Stop! Oh, I'm totally looking forward to flying with a piece of ply. I mean, even though Buster took a hard hit from it, we're doing a more controlled test so that hopefully Jamie and I won't get horrible head trouble while doing it.
We're ready to go.
But it is always a strange thing to throw yourself out over the edge of a 60-foot drop. Your body resists it.
But this is the only way to find out if it's possible to control the plywood sheet in flight.
We have liftoff.
On you! Forget about controlling this thing. There's no control. I mean, I tried pushing my head up against it. At the peak, I could not get it. It's just like all over the place. And I was holding it dead center.
Huh. Well, that's the most interesting thing about this whole thing so far. I mean, we've tested everything we could, but short of actually jumping off a building and seeing whether you die or not.
What?
Jamie has even less control over the plywood. There's just no way you can steer this thing.
Well, more than any other data we can come up with, Buster's a pretty clear indicator of how survivable a 60-foot fall actually is. But what was our actual data?
Well, not surprisingly, the parachute was actually the best at about 28 miles per hour. Right behind it was the large umbrella at 29. What really surprised me was that the plywood was no use at all. In fact, it broke over Buster's back upon impact. And our rigs didn't do anything at all, didn't help either.
From a controllability standpoint and from a velocity hitting the ground standpoint, this is one of those myths that's just unequivocally busted.
Yeah, absolutely. Myth busted.